And there's 1,000 definitions of design out there, but since AIGA brought us together here today, I'm going to go with this one that's design is a visual look or a shape given to a certain object in order to make it more attractive, make it more comfortable, or to improve another characteristic. So this is something that is deep ingrained in me, even though it wasn't intentional. It kind of always has been. But I didn't know it. This is me at 8 years old, son of an architect and interior designer. It wasn't like we talked about design around the dinner table, but clearly, as you can tell by my sweet Huffy bike and my zip neon red pants, that there was something about design that spoke to me kind of from an early age. So it was deep-seated and didn't know where it was going. But I grew up, went to University of Georgia, didn't know what I was going to do, went into business, quickly decided I didn't want to be a part of the corporate cog, and partied and skated and failed out gloriously a year and a half after starting. So I don't take pride in that, but it gave me a chance to kind of refocus and think about what I wanted to do. That landed me back at design. I grew up skating. I made t-shirts and I made skate zines and all these things that showed me that art and design was always part of my life, even though I didn't know it was going to be a big part of my life. So at this point, I chose to kind of double down on these two things and how design and skating kind of became ingrained into one for me. So skating taught me to break the rules, follow my own path. It's been a hobby of mine forever, will continue to be. And it really just opened my eyes. I mean, I've traveled the globe, I've met the most amazing people in the world, and just opened my eyes to a new way of living. So I was skating a ton, experimenting a ton, learning a lot about myself and being an individual. And my big takeaway was this: me walking down the street, I see the world very different than anybody in this room who doesn't skate or BMX or something like that. We have architecture that's built in a certain way, and I twist it and use it in a way that was not intended, not expected. I'm breaking the rules, I'm making something new out of these things, and that just, it became how I lived my life. It wasn't intentional. I started my career, I had a few jobs before, but I joined Tom's out in Los Angeles when they were really new. I was employee number 40 and left when they were like 350. I fought my way in, I cold called them, forced into a job at a company that was breaking the rules also and doing things differently. So that was huge for me. And then I went from there to work at an ad agency in Austin, Texas. They just took my visibility of what creativity and design could be to a whole new level. They had a 360 view and could push clients to do whatever they kind of envisioned. This was an art gallery that was part of their studio, beautiful art gallery that they still have going to this day, pulling top artists. So all that combined, skating, those two jobs, into Homestead, the studio that I run here in Asheville, and it kind of shaped the way I wanted to approach and the perspective I would take with design and the kind of clients we want and the work we would do and the legacy, if I could even call that we want to leave behind. I don't see our work as disposable. I want it to be lasting. So now I'll talk about some. This is a Glassblower local, and my perspective change here was really trying to find the magic. It is fire and human breath and spinning glass, and as you can see in this logo that kind of moves, we didn't want a static brand built. So this was an example of how we would change our perspective of approaching a client like that. This was a nonprofit in Austin that did a big honky-tonk fundraising concert, and our task was to do a poster, but we wanted to change that perspective and push it a little further. So we designed the poster and then pushed them to be able to chain stitches. This was a heavy 18 by 24 denim poster that went up for auction at the event. I had the pleasure of working with Teva years ago at another ad agency. This was a Grand Canyon river trip, and we wanted people to feel like they were in the trip, so we jerry-canned water out of the river and did this photo emulsion process where we could lift the image up and manipulate it and feel like you had the energy of the river kind of happening on the page there when you were flipping through a magazine. Beecham's Curve in West Asheville, our studio is a block from here. This perspective change may be diving back into history. These streetcar drivers used to drive streetcars around this corner, and that's where the name comes from. That's where the logo was derived, flipping it upside down from the icon that used to be on their hat. And just twisting the old to make it something new is really exciting for us. This is a footwear brand out in Los Angeles that has a huge give-back component to the homeless community. Everything they do is 6 miles from their office. They tan leather, they make the shoes, they do their give back. So this, if I were going to say a perspective shift, was like getting down low and finding these images that would relate to the city. I do some editorial illustration. So this is looking at common objects and twisting them in I can look here, look at you all, a different way. This one is lying about cancer to make friends, or the fraught culture of online grieving. Travel is only for the rich, or the Me Too movement in Meghan Markle world now. But it's not all fun and games. My love of design and skating in this creative realm I built for myself has given me a lot. It's also taken. I've injured my body horrifically and even had a bad brain injury fairly recently that I feel very lucky to be up here and talking as hopefully eloquently as I am right now. This is my beautiful old 1985 Toyota Land Cruiser that I love. Those lines, you can't match it. The designer in me loves it, but it has horrific gas mileage. Old parts, nobody wants to work on it. It breaks down all over the place. So it's like this pro and con of this life that I've forged of being a creative person and having it ingrained in who I am. And then there's this. We've all screwed ourselves. I'm willing to bet that 90% of ourselves sit like this, and I don't even I'm way worse. My thing would be like that. But why I bring all this stuff up is because my perspective is changing again. As much as I look at work in a different way, I'm starting to look at life in a different way and change my perspective because of this guy. This is Easton, my 1.5-year-old son, our only kid. He's new to the world, and that's changing everything and making me wonder what all this is for. What are we doing it for? Should I be driving this gas-guzzling, unsafe truck? Should I be sitting in front of a computer? Should I be wrecking my body skating? So I'm going to end it with a different definition of design that's been heavy on me, a particular purpose or intention held in view by an individual or group. So this is something I'm thinking a lot about, and I guess as I step off the stage in a minute, it would just be inspiring everybody else to think about shifting your perspective of life or design or creativity or whatever it may be, because we've all barely scratched the surface, I think. And that's it. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. That was awesome.